Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Tombstone Tourist. Last week, I was at the Gibsonville Cemetery in Gibsonville, North Carolina, where I visited the grave of longtime North Carolina State women's basketball coach, Kay Al. This week, I've moved a few miles to the east, to the Oakwood Cemetery in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm going to be visiting the final resting place of another North Carolina State coaching legend, man we know as Jimmy V. Now, in one of my very early videos on this channel, I visited this large 105-acre historic cemetery that was founded in 1869. It's the final resting place of a number of Civil War veterans, along with some of North Carolina's most notable citizens. Since that first visit, I've always wanted to come back and do a more in-depth video of some of the more notable people that are resting here. People like Elizabeth Edwards, Jesse Helms, and the man that I'm going to visit today, Jim Valvano. James Thomas Valvano was born on March 10, 1946 in Queens, New York. He was the middle child of Rocco and Angelina Valvano and was very proud of his Italian heritage. Growing up in New York City, Jim was a three-sport athlete at Seaford High School on Long Island. After graduating high school in 1963, he enrolled at Rutgers University, where he played basketball and was named the university's Athlete of the Year in 1967. He graduated from Rutgers in 1967 with a degree in English. After graduating from Rutgers, Jim returned to the university to begin his coaching career as the coach of the freshman team, while serving as an assistant coach on the varsity team. After spending 2 years at Rutgers, in 1969, Jim left to become the head coach at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Jim stayed at Johns Hopkins for 2 seasons before moving on to UConn, where he served 2 more years as an assistant coach. From UConn, Jim was off to Bucknell and served as the Bison's head coach from 1972 to 1975. The Iona Gales came calling in 1975, and Jim left Bucknell and served as the Gales head coach from 1975 until 1980. Jim's big break came in 1980 when he left Iona to become the head coach at North Carolina State University, replacing Norm Sloan, who had left to take the head coaching job at Florida. In his first season at State, he led the Wolfpack to a record of 14-13, but it was a 4-10 conference record that left many of the Wolfpack faithful questioning the hiring. But any fears the Wolfpack fans had were eliminated in the 1981-82 season. The team went 7-7 in the ACC, and a 22-10 overall record resulted in an NCAA tournament bid, where they lost in the first round to UT Chattanooga. The 1982-83 season brought high hopes and great expectations for the Wolfpack faithful, but no one could have dreamed what a season it would be. The Wolfpack entered the season ranked number 19 in the nation, and after a successful non-conference season, they opened the conference season at home against the number 2 ranked Virginia Cavaliers. Wolfpack ended up losing the game 88-80, but suffered a bigger loss when senior captain Derek Whittenburg suffered a broken foot and would miss the next 17 games. With Whittenburg out of action, the Pack would struggle, finishing with a 17-10 record heading into the ACC tournament. At the time, the NCAA consisted of a 52-team field, meaning that unless the Pack won the ACC tournament, they would not make the NCAA tournament field. The Pack opened the ACC tournament by defeating Wake Forest 71-70. In the semifinals, the Pack faced off against number 5 ranked North Carolina. The Pack would need overtime to defeat the Tar Heels 91-84, to set up a rematch of the conference opener against number 2 ranked Virginia. Just like their other meetings, the game was back and forth, but in the end, the Wolfpack would defeat the Cavaliers 81-78. The Cardiac Pack, as some were calling them, were ACC tournament champions and headed to the big dance. The Cardiac Pack was sent out west and opened the tournament with a double overtime win over Pepperdine. They followed that up with another heart-stopping 71-70 victory over UNLV. The Pack opened their West Regional semifinals with a 19-point win over Utah, which set up a regional championship with a familiar foe, the number 2 ranked Virginia Cavaliers. The Cavaliers and Wolfpack hooked up for the 4th time this season, and just like the other games, it was a back-and-forth affair. The game went down to the wire, with the Pack coming out on top, 63-62. The Cardiac Pack were off to the Final Four. The Wolfpack arrived at the Final Four, which was being held at the Pit in Albuquerque, New Mexico, very much the underdog. Nobody except Jim Valvano gave the Pack much of a chance against Georgia, much less against the number 1 Houston Cougars. Survive and advance was a phrase that Jim had used throughout the tournament. The Pack did survive and advanced to the national championship game by defeating Georgia 67-60. That set up a national championship game with the Houston Cougars. It was another back-and-forth affair. With time running out and the score tied at 52 all, Derek Whittenberg heaved a desperation shot toward the basket. The shot was well short, but was grabbed by Lorenzo Charles, who slammed it home as time expired. The Wolfpack won the game 54-52. Jim Valvano's Cardiac Pack was the national champions. With a national championship under his belt, the Wolfpack under Jim Valvano was one of the ACC's most successful programs during the 1980s. Then in 1989, accusations of rules violations surfaced. The resulting investigation by the NCAA cleared Jim of any wrongdoing, but did find that players had been selling shoes and tickets. The NCAA placed the Wolfpack on probation for 2 years. Jim remained the head coach until April of 1990, when he negotiated a deal with the university to resign. After leaving state, the flamboyant coach embarked on a second career as a broadcaster for ESPN, where he was often paired with another flamboyant Italian named Dick Vitale. The Killer V's, as they dubbed themselves, became the network's most popular personalities. In addition to his popularity on ESPN, Jim was also a much sought-after motivational speaker. Then in June of 1992, Jim Valvano was diagnosed with cancer. Less than a year later, on March 4, 1993, Jim would give his most memorable speech. During the emotional speech, while accepting the Arthur Ashe Courage Award at the ESPYs, he announced the creation of the V Foundation for Cancer Research. The foundation's motto would be, "Don't give up. Don't ever give up." Less than 2 months later, the man who coached the Cardiac Pack to a national championship and coined the phrase "survive and advance" passed away at the age of 47 on April the 28th, 1993. He was laid to rest here in Oakwood Cemetery. His headstone contains a phrase from his ESPY speech: "Take time every day to laugh, to think, to cry." Well, this video has gotten rather long, so I'm going to end it and continue my visit to Oakwood Cemetery a little later on. Hope you enjoyed my visit to the final resting place of Jim Valvano and a brief look back at the Cardiac Pack of 1983. if you have a favorite memory of the Wolfpack, Jimmy V, or any of the people that we visit in these videos, I hope you'll share your memories in the comments. And if you haven't already, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. I upload a new video every Sunday morning, and by subscribing, you really help my channel grow. While you're at it, a thumbs up is always very much appreciated. Now, until next week, remember, life is a wonderful journey. Be sure to take time and enjoy it. And I'll see you down the road. So long, everyone.